What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some fun battles in the Summer Cup submitted to the channel by LowX972, who's running a triple spider theme team with Shadow Galvantula, Araquanid and Ariados. Now, pretty standard moves on the Galvantula and Araquanid, but Ariados is running a very unusual moveset with Trailblaze, which I think is actually great coverage for this meta, but also running Shadow Sneak, which honestly, I'm struggling to see why you'd run Shadow Sneak. I guess you have a slightly better matchup up against Skeledirge, but otherwise I can't really see any point in running it. And also, it might just be that they just don't have any charge TMs, I don't know. If you are watching this video, LowX, let me know in the comment section down below. But before we get into the question of the day, I want to give a quick shout out to MGLJSP for their donations in yesterday's live stream. As always, I very much appreciate it. And with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. What is your favourite bug-type Pokemon? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, it's Shadow Galvantula into Shadow Quagsire. Now, we will make it to a lunge before the opponent makes it to a Stone Edge, but instead going to bank some energy and swap into our Araquanid. Now, I assume we're just using Araquanid as a sort of damage sponge. We're going to bait out a Charge Bug, which isn't ideal, but Araquanid is very bulky, so we actually don't need to shield this. It will put us into farm down range, but hopefully we can at least make it to a Bubble Beam before they get that farm down, and the opponent's actually going to throw a Charge move, which is honestly probably better for us, because now we can just come in with either Pokemon really, maybe shield once and go for a full farm down. We come in with the Ariados, and it looks like that's exactly what we're going to go for here, using our shield, but we will get a huge Poison Sting farm down. And remember, they've got Quagsire in the lead. They might not be expecting a Trailblaze, so we are full sending it straight away. Trailblaze, double super effective, easily one-shots the Shadow Quagsire. We also boost our attack in the process. And here you can see a matchup where Shadow Sneak isn't really useful whatsoever. We go for another Trailblaze, once again ramping up that attack there. The opponent chooses to let the first one go through. I guess that makes sense because we do have the ability to just keep on boosting our attack. The opponent needs to go for a Rock Slide because a Body Slam will not get the KO, and at this point they're probably going to shield anything, so we go for a Shadow Sneak. Shadow Sneak grabs the final shield. We swap into our Shadow Galvantula. We're able to make it to a lunge. It looks like we are deliberately not hitting most of the bubbles there. We still get the KO, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we see a Shadow Galvantula into Macargo. Now, this is pretty awful for us. We go for one Volt Switch there and then swap out, which is kind of strange because if we swapped out straight away, we might have been able to outpace them to a Bubble Beam, but unfortunately, because we weren't able to do so, and again, since we are using Araquanid as a damage sponge, we actually just let that Stone Edge go through. The opponent shields up the Bubble Beam here, and honestly, yeah, I think this is probably worthwhile shielding because even if they do shield here, we can drop their attack once again, but Bubble Beam, despite being a pretty rubbish move, hits for double super effective damage. It does get them reasonably low. We can come back in with the Shadow Galvantula, go for two Volt Switches, go for a lunge, and even resisted, that does get the KO, so it was safe to go for there. They're going to come in with a Trevenant, so we are going to swap at the last second and catching a double resisted Seed Bomb, which is a very nice play. Seed Bomb not going to do much damage. They come in with Greninja. Now, this is a bit unfortunate because they can outpace us to the charge moves. We're going to shield the first one as they do go straight for a Hydro Cannon. We're now going straight for a Trailblaze once again, and Trailblaze goes unshielded. We boost our attack and we get the Poison Sting farm down as well. And this actually is a matchup where Shadow Sneak will be quite nice for us, especially with the boost. It does big damage there. We get the Poison Sting farm down. Well, actually we don't, as the opponent concedes the match, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Vigoroth in the lead. So this is a fairly okay matchup for us. We're going to go straight for the lunge here, as the opponent will not be able to make it to a Rock Slide before we can debuff them. We grab a shield from the opponent there, and we are most likely going to shield despite debuffing them. They're probably going to bait here. I think that is just a Body Slam, but that's okay. The opponent's going to swap there, and I have no clue what they swapped into. I think it was a Mud Boy. It ends up being a Shadow Swampert, so we're going to bank a little bit of energy, swap into a Araquanid, and we completely wall it, assuming it's not running Sludge Wave. But either way, they didn't farm up to it anyways, and we were just never going to shield it with our Araquanid anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Going to come in with the Vigoroth, going straight for the Rock Slide there, but we tanked that very easily. We can now go for a Water Pulse. Water Pulse takes out the Vigoroth, and they've got a Shadow Quagsire in the back. Now, Araquanid probably still lives on Aquatel or a Mud Bomb from this range, and we do hang on, we make it to a Bubble Beam, and this is going to be a permanent debuff for the opponent, so very unfortunate for them. But now we can come in with the Shadow Galvantula, and we swap, we catch the Charge Move onto Ariados. This is a really nice play because assuming they've got Stone Edge there, if we just came in with the Ariados, they have the opportunity to potentially nuke us with a Stone Edge. But now we can go for the Trailblaze, taking out another Shadow Quagsire, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, Shadow Galvantula into Whiscash. So again, fairly okay lead matchup for us, not the best. We're actually going to swap, and we're able to catch a Mud Bomb, which is resisted, which is very nice for us. And the opponent's now going to swap into Vigoroth. This also isn't too bad. They also don't even build up to a potential Rock Slide, so we can definitely just no-shield the first move here. They're going to have to throw a Rock Slide to take us out for sure, so we're going to throw on the CMP tie with the next Body Slam. But again, it's just a Body Slam, so we don't need to shield that. We can go straight for the Water Pulse. Water Pulse is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. It looks like we are going to commit to a full Bug Bite Farm Down, but the opponent gets the new mechanic, which is very unfortunate, as that does allow them to counter Farm Us Down. But we can come back in with the Shadow Galvantula. They come in with the Whiscash, and we're going straight for the Lunge, throwing on the CMP tie with the next Mud Bomb. And Lunge is going to be no-shielded. It does some decent damage there. We're going to shield this because, of course, we can debuff them once again with another Lunge before they make it to the next move, so it makes sense to shield that one. And now we can go for a second Lunge, grab a shield, and once again, gonna swap, catch the Charge Reef onto our Ariados. This is just another Mud Bomb. It doesn't do much damage, but the opponent has a Pidgeot in the back, so this is very bad for us. And again, a matchup where Shadow Sneak does not help us whatsoever. It is coverage, it's just not necessarily useful coverage. The opponent goes for a Feather Dance that actually doesn't quite take us out there, which is slightly less ideal because it does give them slightly more energy. But going straight for the Lunge, grabbing a shield from the opponent, and that's actually very nice for us, especially if the opponent goes for a Feather Dance, which then drops our attack, allowing us to get a full farm down. And yes, we have been dropped with our attack, but it doesn't matter. Lunge still gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So going into next battle, Galvantula into a Jellicent, so a very good lead matchup for us. The opponent's going to swap into a Charger Bug, so we're just going to stay in. Since they are one turn behind, we're going straight for the Lunge here, and this is going to do some very nice damage. We're actually just going to stay in with the Galvantula. We have dropped their attack, but we're going to shield anyways, and we might try and make a catch onto our Ariados, and we do, but the opponent holds onto the energy, so very nice discipline from the opponent there. They still end up baiting with the X's anyway, so that didn't really make an awful lot of sense, but they come back in with the Jellicent, and this is where having Trailblaze is very nice, as we can ramp up our attack, also dealing super effective damage. Gonna go for a Shadow Sneak. We are boosted, but Shadow Sneak is a pretty awful move, so actually still doesn't quite get the KO there. The opponent is gonna go for a Surf, which also doesn't take us out, but it allows the opponent to get the full Bubble Farm Down, and we don't get the new mechanic, so not ideal, but it doesn't really matter, as the opponent has a Shadow Victory Belt in the back. And once again, this is their final Pokemon, so we can permanently debuff them with a Bubble Beam, dropping their attack, and now we can very comfortably live whatever they throw. We're going to shield anyways. They should actually be able to outpace us to the next Charge Reef, but it doesn't matter. We drop their attack. This will not be enough to get the KO, not even close, and it looks like we can just go for a full Bug Bite Farm Down. We're able to take out the Victory Bell, and we take that game. Into next game, not ideal lead for us, but also it's not the worst thing ever. We're going to swap, and actually, we've probably just caught a Mud Bomb onto our Araquanid, which is a very nice catch there. We are going to see the opponents now going to throw what's most likely going to be a Discharge, but again, Araquanid, very bulky. We're going to use it as the damage sponge, and the opponent comes in with a Pidgeot. Now, this is not ideal. Honestly, they can probably just fully wing attack Farm Us Down from this range, but we go for the Water Pulse, and the opponent's going to throw their energy straight away. So this actually is very nice. They go for a Feather Dance that does get the KO. We're going to come in with the Galvantula, and we possibly could have committed to a full farm down, but I'll be honest, I have not been counting, so we play it safe, we go for a Lunge, and the opponent's going to come back in with their Stunfisk. We're going to choose actually not to throw straight away, instead opting for a full extra Volt Switch in for free, which I do like that play, as we were probably going to shield anyways, because Shadow Galvantula is a very classy Pokemon. But we can go for a second Lunge here, throwing what looks to be on a CMP type once again, and at this point we can now probably just no shield this. They are double debuffed. Mud Bomb not going to do too much damage there. We are going to swap, catch the next charge move onto our Ariados here. This is double debuffed. It's not going to do much damage, and they come in with a Quagsire. So we're going straight for the Trailblaze. Trailblaze, of course, going to hit for double super effective, but this is a non-Shadow Quagsire, so it actually doesn't quite get the KO there. We are going to shield this up as the opponent baits with an Aqua Tail, but they're just going to fire off another Aqua Tail anyway, so possibly running Mud Bomb as the secondary charge move, realizing it's going to take 2 moves to get the KO there. But we don't choose to throw a charge move, which is very strange. I'm not really sure why we've done that, because we're not be able to go for a full Volt Switch farm down here. I think we might be at back-to-back lunges though, so we go for the first one. It grabs the final shield, but no, we're not at the back-to-back lunges. And unfortunately, Mud Bomb takes out the Shadow Galvantula, and we end up losing that game. I think if we just went for the Shadow Sneak there with our Ariados, we could have either grabbed the final shield or just taken out the Quagsire, and we did have some residual energy. I think we would have been okay there, but into next battle, we see a Swampert in the lead, once again able to swap and catch the move, which is very impressive considering we are running Galvantula with a 4-turn fast move. Typically, it's not very easy to make catches with a 4-turn fast move, especially up against 2-turn fast moves, because opponents should be able to react in time. But I think what I've noticed is, yes, these are sped up battles, but I think this trainer is actually pausing for 1 second before swapping out, just to make it slightly less obvious that they are swapping, which is a very nice play. But we're now going to go for a full Volt Switch farm down there. They come back in with the Shadow Swampert, so we're going straight for the Lunge here. And Lunge is going to hit for big damage or grab the final shield. At this point, we already know that a Trailblaze will definitely KO up against a Shadow Swampert. We're going to shield the first move. They go for a Hydro Cannon. We're going straight for the Trailblaze here. The opponent doesn't attempt to make any sort of catch, so we're able to one-shot the Swampert. They've got Shadow Whiscash in the back. We've boosted up our attack, so the opponent just concedes the match there. Into next game, we see Venusaur in the lead, so this is actually a fairly neutral matchup here. Of course, we are going to resist all the grass-type damage, but Shadow Galvantula, very squishy, Frenzy Plant hits like an absolute truck, and even though we've just debuffed them with a Lunge, we're still going to respect the damage anyways, knowing full well that that was just going to be a Frenzy Plant. But now we're going to swap into Ariados, once again trying to make a catch here, but the opponent's going to throw anyways. I think they might have gone for Sludge Bomb there, I'm not super certain about that, but either way, it doesn't do much damage. Both moves were resisted. We go for a Trailblaze, ramping up our damage as well, and we are going to use a shield here. We use our final shield, we're going to go for a Shadow Sneak, and Shadow Sneak not going to do that much damage, but with the boost it might KO, but either way we grab the final shield, and at this point we're going to of course have to let Ariados go down. We've got some energy on our Shadow Galvantula, we're going to overfarm just a little bit, going for the Lunge, and Lunge will be taking out the Electrode. They come in with the Venusaur, we're now going to swap into our Araquanid, and we are of course all shields down at the moment, but it doesn't really matter as a Frenzy Plant still doesn't even do half our HP. The opponent then swaps into their own Galvantula, but we've got such a huge energy advantage. We make it to the Water Pulse, dealing big damage, and the opponent committing to a full farm down, but they actually don't get there in time. Instead, we get the Bug Bite farm down. We come out with a Bubble Beam loaded, dropping their attack, doesn't really make too much of a difference there, but we're able to make it to a Lunge up against the Venusaur coming back in, and Lunge gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Shadow Galvantula into a Shadow Swampert. So we're seeing a lot of Mud Boys, so like I mentioned in the intro, Ariados having Trailblaze is pretty good coverage, but I just don't think Shadow Sneak is a particularly good move to go for with Ariados. It does have some very good moves with Cross Poison and Lunge, of course, and even if you wanted to run like a nuke like Mega Horn, you could do so, and you probably should do so ahead of Shadow Sneak. But either way, we are going to just no shield here, once again, using Araquanid as the damage sponge. The opponent this time does full send the Blast Burn, which is fine. We're going to come in with the Shadow Galvantula. We have dropped their attack here, and this is just going to be a Dragon Claw, but it still hits incredibly hard. Let's see what the opponent wants to do here. They are going to wait out the switch clock, come back in with their Shadow Swampert. We're going straight for the Lunge, and Lunge is actually going to be no shielded, so we swap into Ariados, and they've got a Shadow Walrein in the back. And once again, Trailblaze, very nice coverage here. We're going straight for it. Trailblaze is going to be no shielded by the opponent, and at this point we are definitely going to, well actually never mind, I thought we were going to shield that, but we don't shield it, and honestly we're at risk of them fully Powder Snow farming us down at this point, so going to go for the Shadow Sneak, but the opponent just lets that through anyways. I think at this point they realised they weren't going to be able to win, so they basically just concede the match there. Into next battle, see Shadow Galvantula into Unova Stunfisk once again, so not ideal for us. Can we make another catch? And yes, we are able to do so. And once again, waiting that one turn there, just to make it less obvious that we were swapping out. But the opponent's going to come in with, I believe that's a Sucker Punch Trevenant, which is very interesting. We throw on, I think, CMP here, and we do lose CMP, so maybe should have thrown slightly earlier than that, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to go for a Bubble Beam, and the opponent is going to be able to, once again, just slightly outpace us. We're actually getting there on the CMP tie, but that's fine. We've dropped their attack. We can live a Seed Bomb, and we're now going for Water Pulse. We're actually going to undercharge this, and we are able to go for a full Bug Bite farm down, which is very nice, but they've got a Turtonator in the bag, so unfortunately, this is not looking very good for us at all. We've got, I mean, Araquanid is basically our only answer to fire types, but even then, Turtonator is only going to take neutral damage up against the water typing as well, and Araquanid is obviously already fainted, so not ideal for us. We're now going to go for a Shadow Sneak, grabbing a shield there. We're then going to swap into Galvantula, and we're able to make it to a Lunge. Of course, Lunge is resisted, Discharge also resisted, but the opponent's going to swap back into their Unovan Stunfisk. Now, we might actually have some play here if they've thrown the charge through straight away. I have not been keeping track of the Stunfisk energy, so I don't really have a clue how much energy they've got, but we go for the Trailblaze there, and at this point we are definitely just going to shield. I also can't remember how much energy the Turtonator has either, but we're going to overfarm as much as possible, going for a Shadow Sneak, but Shadow Sneak, an awful move. We're boosted, but it still doesn't get the KO there. We needed to go for Trailblaze, and once again ramp up our attack, but that way we possibly wouldn't have made it to another charge move up against the Turtonator, but either way we end up going down there. So into next battle, we see a Quagsire in the lead, so once again another Mud Boy. We're going straight for the Lunge, and then we might swap into our Araquanid just to sponge the energy, but no, the opponent's going to throw their charge boost straight away here, giving us a full Volt Switch in for free. We can now just go straight for another Lunge here, throwing on the CMP tie, and Lunge is going to be no shielded. It takes out the Quagsire, and the opponent comes in with Skeledirge, so not ideal for us. We're going for the Lunge. This is double resisted, but Discharge would hit fairly hard, so the opponent does respect the damage. We can now come in with Araquanid, and we have dropped their attack, so this isn't going to do too much damage regardless of whether they go for a Shadow Ball or a Disarming Voice. They're actually at 100 energy, so probably will be a Shadow Ball this time around, but again, it doesn't do that much damage. They come into Dugong, and I really like this play here. Just staying in, waiting for them to throw. We can easily tank whatever they throw, and then we're going to swap into our Ariados, and again, Trailblaze are going to be pretty useful here, and maybe this is going to be the one matchup where Shadow Sneak is actually very good, because we can now boost our attack. It's very likely that they're just going to drop it straight away, but that's okay. We're going to no-shield this as it doesn't do that much damage. We can now overfarm, throwing at the last possible second, and at this point, Shadow Sneak should be enough to get the KO. It does get the KO, and they come back in with the Skeledirge. We can go straight for Shadow Sneak number 2. Shadow Sneak is going to be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and at this point, we've already got a Water Pulse loaded, so we're going to throw it straight away here. No messing around. Water Pulse gets the KO, and we're able to take that game. So heading into the final battle of this video, yet another Mud Boy in the lead. So we are going to stay in with the Shadow Quagsire. The opponent actually makes a catch this time. Don't have a clue what they caught it onto. They catch it onto a Charger Bug, which is, I guess, okay for us. We are going to swap, make our own catch, hopefully catching a resisted debuffed X-Scissor, and that's exactly what we've done. So very nice there. And also, again, we've got that Trailblaze full coverage, and especially since we're going for a Shadow Sneak here, I think this is quite a nice play, because running Shadow Sneak, the opponent might be thinking, well, there's no way they're running Trailblaze and Shadow Sneak, so at this point, they can probably just no-shield the next charge move. We're going to no-shield as the opponent baits with an Aqua Tail. Fine with us. We are now full sending the Trailblaze. Can we nuke yet another Quagsire? No, unfortunately not. This opponent actually does shield, but then they swap, again catching the charge move. Again, I don't have a clue what it is. It's a Toxapex there, and now we can just swap into our Shadow Galvantula, going straight for the discharge. No point baiting this time around. The opponent no shields that. We get the full Volt Switch farm down. We can now just go for a Lunge straight away, and once again going to permanently debuff the attack of the opponent's final Pokemon, as they cannot swap out to clear the debuff, and this is going to be game over. Honestly, even if the opponent is running Stone Edge, I think we can probably tank like maybe even 2 Stone Edges with the debuff. Araquanid is just so bulky, but the opponent baits. We've still got 2 shields remaining. This time the opponent does full send the Stone Edge there. You can see we tanked that on the chin. The opponent recognizing there's nothing they can do, and they just concede the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.